Live from New York City, it's the Gary Null Show. And now, your host, Gary Null.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Null, broadcasting from our studios in New York City. This is going to be an empowering hour. We're going to talk about how curcumin, the active ingredient in turmeric, is able to help your brain. Also, we're going to look at 3 different cases of how you can help dementia using natural techniques, and that they're saying now officially, something we've been saying, you've been hearing for a long time, that dementia is preventable. That's good news. And I'll explain how you can prevent it. Right now, I'm looking at, it's an epidemic going toward a pandemic. The pharmaceutical industry wants to give you drugs that will not reverse it, have terrible side effects, and can merely ameliorate a few of the symptoms. Well, what about reversing it completely? Can it be done? I've done it. In fact, it's one thing to say you've done something. It's something else to take that person you did it with to a conference of scientists, skeptical as they should be, that's good, bring them out on stage, and have that person with end-stage dementia 16 months after being on a protocol and talk coherently, read from a guidebook, which they couldn't otherwise do. They couldn't even read anything. And the scientists are sitting there with their jowls hanging. Well, that was just the beginning. Now we're working with others and helping them as well. More on this coming up, but I'll get into that today. And also, the case is growing for something I've also said, and this is from University of Utah. They have found a link directly between happiness and health. And how many times have I suggested that you cannot be healthy if you're not first happy? Now you would think, well, what does one have to do with the other? Of course you can be healthy if you're not happy. No, you can't. Not if you're measuring health on the larger scale. And I'll deal with that today as well. A lot more on health and healing, and all cutting edge, all from peer-reviewed journals, all from quality institutions. So let's begin. Scientific evidence that turmeric, which is the yellow spice used in curry dishes, helps diabetes. Now here's what's important. I'm going to quote this and then I'll put it into a different context. This is from Health Impact News, and this is from a Dr. Sinatra, medical doctor and cardiologist. And it says, the statistics on prediabetes and diabetes in this country are utterly frightening. This is the pandemic. About 25 million Americans have diabetes. It's now 30 million. And including a whopping 20% over the age of 60, and 80 million have prediabetes. That means you're overweight, you have metabolic syndrome, you have high blood pressure, and also known as insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome. These conditions lead to inflammatory and artery-destroying processes that produce serious cardiovascular problems. He's correct. But the best figure I could come up with, the most accurate figure, is 100 million. Could be as high as 120 million, which means that 1 out of every 3 people living in the United States, and we're even talking about children, 1 out of every 3 has prediabetes or diabetes, which means prediabetes, you're going to be diabetic, which means your life is going to be shortened, you're going to likely have a heart attack or a stroke, you're going to be overweight, you're going to be depressed, and you're going to suffer from a myriad of inflammatory conditions because diabetes is pro-inflammatory. That means your eyes are going to be deficient in nutrients, you're going to have oxidative stress, glaucoma, cataracts, macular degeneration. Your brain is going to be inflammatory. And you're going to have dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, memory loss, quicker than otherwise. So you're going to be a sick puppy. You're going to die. You're going to be in pain. You're going to have toes amputated, legs amputated. You're going to have infections. If you go into a hospital and you don't have an infection when you go into the hospital, in one recent year, 80,000 plus Americans died from bed sores, completely preventable ulcers of the skin because of how stupid and riddled with incompetence hospital care is. No one should be dying of a bed sore, but we had 80,000. Did you read about it anywhere? Nope. It's just so common now. Like MRSA infections, 30,000 dying. It's just common. Aspirin, bleeding, deaths from the stomach, taking your baby aspirin to prevent a stroke and then dying of a cardiovascular disease, heart attack because of homocysteine, but no one talks about it. That's why we talk about it. So, here's the deal. Turmeric has an ingredient in it called curcumin. That can help you with diabetes. It's very important. Here's what it says, quote, research clearly demonstrates that turmeric is a powerful natural preventative and therapeutic agent for diabetes. The most commonly prescribed pharmaceutical approach for diabetes 2 or diabetes mellitus is metformin, which is fraught with side effects, even though it is considered safer than other diabetic drugs with worse side effects. And then it goes on to talk about how curcumin interfered with this. And the study is entitled Curcumin Extract for Prevention of Type 2 Diabetes. And the conclusions, quote, from the study, and this is in the British Medical Journal, these findings suggest a glucose-lowering effect of curcuminoids in type 2 diabetes, which is partially due to decrease in serum FFAs, which may result in promoting fatty acid oxidation and utilization. So, take your curcumin if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic. Now, this is from the University of Utah, and it says, scientists are still exploring and debating when happiness most affects health, but there is, quote, no doubt that it can do so. In the most comprehensive review to date of studies on subjective well-being, a team of researchers concluded there is a connection between happiness and health and better wound healing, better immune system function, better emotional resilience. So here's the issue. Now, why do I say, with all the people I work with, that in order to be healthy, you first have to work on happiness? Because at any given time, and I'll go into this in great depth when Professor Bruce Lipton will be on the upcoming program to talk about the epigenetics of happiness. I'll just give you a brief overview. If your parents were not happy, let's say that you weren't wanted, you were not a wanted pregnancy, the doubt about you being born, about you being carried in your mother's womb, that creates an epigenetic vibration that you're actually feeling unwanted, unloved, even before you're officially born. That's epigenetics. If there's not love between your parents, you pick that up as a child. If you're not given attention by either parent, even if you're not abused, we're not talking about abuse, just neglected, that can impact your immune system. That can impact the development of your own conscious mind. But Bruce Lipton, who is phenomenal on this, will go into greater depth on this in an upcoming program. So we do know now from thousands of studies on epigenetics, it's a whole area of science now. The head you see in the picture is my producer. Just sit back, Richard. Sit back, thank you. Richard's going to be on the moment to talk about something funny. And it is this, a gross simplification, but at least you'll get the idea. When you're fearful, angry, rageful, insecure, frightened, stressed, cortisol levels go up. What we call stress cascade goes up. Even if there's nothing real that's actually happening, our fight or flight response is immediate, instantaneous. Well, what if you're just angry about something? Doesn't matter. There'd be no difference between a lion attacking you in the wilds and you being angry that somehow you didn't get a return phone call. The immune system responds, well, that turns off the healing at the DNA level. And you want the immune system on. You want your biochemical reactions to life on. So they call it the on-off at the DNA level. Now, I'll explain that in greater detail when Bruce Lipton's on. But that's why when you're thinking happy thoughts, when you're around wonderful people, when you're around children, they're playing, and you're around nature, and dogs and cats that give us unconditional love. And dogs are actually hardwired genetically with two specific genes that manifest in the brain that keep them almost at a childlike level. So they're always looking to love us and get our attention. Well, when all that good thing's going on, when you have wonderful music that you enjoy, when you're eating healthy foods, when you're in a beautiful environment, it's turning on the happiness quotient, and you're feeling better, and your immune system responds. So happiness is the foundation upon which health exists. Unhappy, I don't care what you do. In my personal experience, and I've counseled a lot of people, it's happiness that determines the outcome of a condition, not just a nutritional protocol. And here is something else, and then we'll wrap this part of our program up. This is from the University of Southern California, and it's a study involving dementia. And here's what they say, quote, managing your lifestyle factors, such as not smoking or high blood pressure or depression, could prevent 1/3 of the world's dementia cases. This was published in The Lancet, and this was a special commission on dementia prevention, and it goes into how to prevent dementia. Well, it's good, and it's also dietary. If you put anti-inflammatory foods, cucumbers in your salads, tomatoes in your salads, watercress, these are all anti-inflammatory alkaline foods, terrific for you. Carrots as well. If you have brown rice instead of white rice, if you have quinoa, if you have coconut oil, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil for 3 months does tremendous benefit to the brain of a person with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, multiple sclerosis. So now they're finally confirming it. But to finish that off, to show it's not alone, this is a separate study. This is from San Francisco University. There, quote, a diet rich in fish, fresh vegetables, fruits, and nuts could help cut the risk of dementia. And this was presented at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference in London. And it was links between diet and dementia were found, and they looked at 6,000 people. They followed them, and they found a 35% reduction in dementia when they had a healthy diet. Now, mind you, that's not even exercise, and that's not stress management, and that's not special supplementation. If I mention, do you know about glycerylphosphorylcholine? They go, what? Well, that's a very important nutrient if you have dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or ALS. So there's a whole field of special nutrients that help rebuild the neurons in the brain and rebuild PPQ and NAD, rebuilding of the mitochondria. This is just with this simple diet, and they're getting great results. So imagine if you had a great diet, not just a simple diet, and you had the supplements and you had the exercise. Well, then you can see how we're able to have such great progress with dementia and Alzheimer's. And before we go to our break, turns out maple syrup is anti-carcinogenic. This is from Kanendai University in Japan. Quote, dark colored syrup is healthier than lightly colored syrup. Maple syrup is a classic natural sweetener that's been making a comeback recently as an alternative to refined sugar. And the syrup is tapped from different species of maple trees, with the Canadian province of Quebec being the top producer. And along with a rich and complex flavor, maple syrup offers an abundance of amino acids, manganese, zinc, and phenolic compounds, including lignans and coumarin. A new study called Inhibitory Effects of Maple Syrup on the Cell Growth and Invasion of Human Colorectal Cancer Cells by Dr. Yamamoto, a molecular and cell biologist on the faculty of pharmacy at the university in Osaka, Japan, shows that it helps prevent cancer. So, dark maple syrup helps you with cancer, especially in this case, colorectal cancer. Now you got, along with coconut sugar and stevia, you've got some natural sweeteners. I'm Gary Null. Thank you all for listening. Look forward to sharing more tomorrow. Have a nice day, everyone.